He had $43 in his checking account. Rent was due in 6 days, and he was standing in line at the Apple store, about to spend $1,200 on a phone. This isn't a story about stupidity. This is a story about survival, about fear, about what money actually means when you don't have any. And when you finish watching this, you're going to see every expensive phone in every broke person's hand, completely differently. If dark money psychology like this pulls you in, subscribe right now, because this channel goes places most finance content is too scared to go. His name was Devin, 27, no kids yet, but a whole family depending on him, mom, younger sister, an uncle who called every time the lights got cut off. He was pulling in about $32,000 a year between both jobs. A warehouse shift that started at 5 in the morning, and a weekend gig flipping sneakers online. On paper, $32,000 sounds like something, until you subtract $800 a month in rent, $200 in utilities, car insurance, groceries, the $120 he sent his mom every month without fail, because she asked him not to but he did it anyway. By the time the math was done, Devin was living on maybe $300 a month of breathing room. $300, that's not a budget, that's a tightrope. He was broke, not temporarily broke, chronically broke. The kind of broke where you do math in your head every time you swipe your card. The kind where you already know the answer before you check your balance, and you check anyway, hoping you're wrong. He had a 4-year-old Android, cracked screen. Battery dying at 40%. The camera made everything look like a memory from a different decade. And he wanted the new iPhone, not the base model, the Pro Max, $1,199. Now, before you judge him, I need you to slow down, because what he was about to do wasn't irrational. It was actually deeply logical. And that's what makes this story so dangerous. Here's what most people get wrong about broke people and expensive things. They assume it's about status, about showing off, about keeping up with people who have more. And sometimes, yeah, it is that. But that's the surface level read. That's the lazy explanation. The deeper truth? It's about signaling, not to other people, to the world, to every system, institution, and stranger that has ever looked at Devin and made a silent calculation about who he was and what he deserved. You don't know what it feels like to be visibly poor until you've lived it. The way people treat you differently when your clothes look cheap. The way job interviewers notice things they never mention out loud. The way certain rooms make you feel like a guest who showed up to the wrong address. Devin knew all of this. He'd felt it his whole life. And he had figured something out, something that no personal finance influencer will ever tell you. The right phone opens doors. Think about it. His sneaker flipping hustle was generating anywhere between $400 and $900 a month, depending on the market, the fines, the timing. But it was all living inside a cracked, dying phone. A cracked screen signals instability. A slow device signals incompetence. A bad camera means blurry product photos. And blurry product photos mean buyers offering him $60 on a pair worth $150. That's real money left on the table. Every single week. Though, was this really reckless? Or was this a calculated investment disguised as a flex? That's the question nobody wants to sit with. There's a concept in behavioral economics called costly signaling. The idea is simple. When you can't prove your value with credentials or connections, you prove it with visible sacrifice. You spend money you don't have on something people can see, because being perceived as successful is sometimes the only bridge between where you are and where you're trying to go. It sounds backwards. It is backwards. But for people locked out of traditional networks, no alumni connections, no family wealth, no one to vouch for them in the right rooms, perception isn't vanity, it's currency. Devin understood this without ever reading a single economics paper. He understood it the way you understand something when life teaches it to you hard enough and long enough. He remembered the job interview 2 years back, a logistics coordinator role, $51,000 a year, benefits, stability. He wore his cleanest clothes, had his resume printed, showed up 12 minutes early, but when he pulled out his cracked, slow phone to show his portfolio of work, he watched the interviewer's face shift. just slightly. He didn't get a call back. He told himself it wasn't the phone, but deep down, he knew. $51,000 slipped through his fingers, and a cracked screen might have been part of why. So he did what millions of people in his exact position do every single year. He financed it. 24 months, $50 a month on top of his existing $45 phone bill, $95 a month total, out of his $300 breeding room. He told himself it was an investment. He told himself the new camera alone would transform his sneaker listings. He told himself this was the move that would finally tip the scale. And here's the dark part. He wasn't entirely wrong. His photos got sharper. His listings looked more professional. He started closing deals faster. Some weekends he was clearing $500, even $600 on flips alone. For about 4 months, the plan was working. And then the warehouse cut his hours. Overnight, his income dropped from roughly $2,600 a month to just under $1,700. $900 gone. Just like that. He started missing payments. Not the phone, not yet. First it was the credit card. A $300 balance he'd been carrying for months, suddenly getting ignored. Interest stacking quietly in the background. Then a utility bill went unpaid. $92 that turned into $130 with the late fee. Then he borrowed $250 from his mom to cover rent, promising himself he'd pay her back before she noticed the stress it caused her. He never paid her back that month. The sneaker hustle couldn't carry everything. The market got soft. A pair he bought for $220 sat unsold for 6 weeks. Another flip came back as a return. He was $300 in the hole before he realized how fast things had spiraled. And now, with a $1,200 phone in his pocket, he was broker than before he bought it. The very thing he bought to signal stability had become proof of the instability underneath. That's the trap. That's the part nobody warns you about. The expensive item that's supposed to help you climb can become an anchor the second the current shifts. And the current already shifts. Devon's story isn't rare. It's everywhere. Studies show the average American making under $30,000 a year is still spending nearly $250 annually on lottery tickets alone, chasing the feeling of a financial escape hatch. Walk through any low-income neighborhood and count the iPhones, count the Jordans, count the designer belts on people who can't cover a $500 emergency. And before you feel superior, understand what you're actually looking at. You're looking at people who were handed a broken game and found one of the only legal moves available to them. You're looking at the psychological weight of being invisible and what people will pay, literally pay, just to feel seen. Research shows that lower-income consumers are actually more sensitive to status purchases, not because they're foolish, but because in environments where institutional trust is low and opportunities are scarce, visible status becomes one of the few resources people can actually control. The iPhone isn't just a phone, it's armor. And some people feel they cannot leave a house without it, even when they literally cannot afford it. Devon eventually sold the phone, got $480 for it on Facebook Marketplace. Not enough to clear the damage. He was already carrying over $900 in late fees, missed minimums, and borrowed money by that point. He sold it because one night, sitting in his car in a parking lot after a double shift, he did the real math for the first time. Not the monthly payment math, the true cost math. $1,200 for the phone, nearly $400 in interest over the life of the financing, the late fees, the stress, the $250 he still owed his mum. When he added it all up, that phone had cost him closer to $2,000. $2,000. He stayed at that number for a long time. Then he drove home, sat on his couch, and for the first time in years, he let himself feel the full weight of what trying to look okay had actually cost him. Here's what I want you to take from this. This isn't a story about a bad purchase. It's a story about what financial pressure actually does to the human mind. It narrows your thinking. It makes a $50 monthly payment feel manageable even when you have zero margin for error. It makes the fear of being seen as poor sometimes feel worse than actually being poor. And that psychological trap, It doesn't just live in low-income neighborhoods. It lives in middle-class households drowning in car payments they can't afford. It lives in people leasing $50,000 cars on $60,000 salaries. It lives in anyone who has ever spent money they didn't have to feel like someone they weren't yet. Devon isn't a cautionary tale about stupidity. He's a mirror. And the question worth sitting with tonight isn't why poor people buy expensive phones. The real question is, what are you spending money on right now, today, to avoid feeling like you're not enough? Because that number, whatever it is, it's probably bigger than you think. If this hit different, subscribe. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think Devon should have done with that $2,000 instead. Because honestly, the answer might surprise you.